Welcome back to the Go to Go podcast, man. Episode 93. Eastern Conference Finals just wrapped up. 3-0 in the West. Surprisingly, so far, the Mavericks lead the T-Wolves thus far, man. Let's start it off. Eastern Conference Celtics finished off that sweep yesterday against the Pacers. A lot of close games, but 4-0, get the brooms out. Celtics, they did it, I believe, in just 14 games. They got 12 wins. Head into the finals. Missoula's first time. Your take, not only on that game 4, but that entire series and kind of a preview for the Celtics.
Well, the East series kind of went exactly how we figured it would, and we'll talk about what's going on in the West, and was kind of the exact opposite of what we thought. But, I mean, it's really not much else to say. The Pacers put up a good fight. Once Halliburton went down, you thought, it kind of would be over, and it just showed that they just really didn't have enough firepower to kind of hang with the Boston Celtics. But, I mean, even though Porzingis was out, it kind of went to what we were talking about, multiple guys stepping up. Holiday and Derek White, even though they didn't have some of the best games offensively, games 3 and 4, I mean, you see them step up. You always talk about Derek White, best shot blocking guard. Both of those guys, again, making big plays on the defensive end. Drew Holiday with the game-winning steal in Game 3, I believe. So, I mean, coming up, contributing defensive or offensive rebounds, getting that last board in Game 4. And then Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum just doing what they had to do. So, a big team effort for Boston. That's kind of where they are, why they're, going to the finals and stuff like that. And the Pacers, I mean, fun story, but you can only get so much from Pascal Siakam. Nembhard, he stepped up, had a really big series. He kind of showed that maybe he should have a little more on his plate next season, even with Halliburton back healthy. That'd be, a nice little 1-2 duo, see how far those guys can go. But, yeah, Boston was just a better team, and I think, it's going to be the Mavs most likely. It'll be a fun and interesting series. But, yeah, the Celtics pretty much taking care of business like we thought they would.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Siakam. The Pacers really had no closers down the stretch. I think last night they didn't score a bucket in the last 3.5 minutes of the game. It was just easy for the Celtics. They were able to claw their way back in. Derek White had that big 3 late in the game. You mentioned Holiday offensively. I think he had a really good game 1, but stepped up on the defense side of the ball. You mentioned a game-winning steal. Jaylen Brown, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, which doesn't shock me. He averaged, let me take a look here, 29.8 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, and 2 steals on the defensive side of the ball. You mentioned Halliburton went down. Nembhard stepped up. There was just no true closers on that Pacers team. Nembhard and McConnell could only do too much. Those two guys in the backcourt, McConnell playing up as a role player, stepping up. He's been in some big moments, but the Pacers offense just down the stretch, they were just getting clamped up by the Celtics, and there really wasn't anything they could do offensively late in the fourth quarter. And, I mean, they were in pretty much every single game, clawing their way. It looked like they were going to win a couple. They were unable to do so. Couldn't get that big late bucket. Couldn't get a stop on the other side. Celtics were able to get it done, and that ball in Jaylen Brown's hands late in the game proved pretty good for the Celtics. But moving forward, haven't really seen what you want in a championship team. Obviously, this playoffs, they've taken care of business. You can't do too much about that. You're happy if you're a Celtics fan. You're Joe Mazzulla and that coaching staff. So their play is going to be a little bit more full when they get to face the West. But, I mean, handle business, able to knock off the Pacers in just 4 games, 5-game series before that. So they're well-rested. Porzingis needs it. Going to be happy if they get him back in the NBA Finals, which they should, and they're expecting to match up nightmares with the original unicorn out there for the Celtics. So, and Al Horford, I mean, stepping up. It just, lineup's too deep. We've talked about it before, and they did their thing. Shout out Jaylen Brown, who said he was shocked to get the Larry Bird Award, the most valuable player in the conference finals in the East. So it's going to move us to the West. And, I mean, I got a couple takes on this. I want to know, what you're thinking so far. 3-0 Game 4 tonight, 8:30 Eastern, between the Mavs and the Wolves.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think we get another sweep here tonight. Even though Anthony Edwards is coming out and saying, that they're the better team and he believes that, they'll come back and win this series. It's just they just haven't gotten enough from their star players, Anthony Edwards and, your guy Karl Anthony Towns, but
Hold on, my guy.
your guy Cat.
Not going. Oh wow, that's crazy.
But I think both of these teams are very evenly matched. Most of these games have been close. It's not like the Denver series where we've seen, back and forth blowouts, huge leads, one team runs away. Well, in this series, both of these teams they've been pretty close. It always comes down to the wire, but the big difference is Luka and Kyrie. Both of those guys have made big shots in big moments. They have the experience. This is kind of what they're built for, and it's like game after game. You can go back with Luka with the step back on Rudy Gobert with the three, and you look at Kyrie hitting a tough fadeaway in the corner. Luka with the turnaround in the post over McDaniels, like just big shot after big shot. Luka with the lob to Gafford, down the stretch in game 3. Like a bunch of these moments we can say for Luka and Kyrie, but then you look on the opposite side, whereas, Anthony Edwards, he had a better game 3. He's a lot more aggressive, but down the stretch in the clutch when this team needed him to step up and make a play, there's really nothing you can think of. Only bad stuff. You can think of the turnover in game 1, and then
bad passes.
The last shot, he had a chance to shoot it, passes over to Naz Reid. Like, yeah, I understand Naz Reid, I think, had one missed 3 that game, but you're Anthony Edwards. You want to see him take the shot. That's what LeBron has been criticized his entire career. Like, he makes the right play. No, you're LeBron. You got to make the right shot. So if we're being fair, we're keeping everything honest. Like, if you're Anthony Edwards, you're the best player. You want to see him take that best shot. And then, I would say, what bad moments are there for Cat, but he's been played off of the floor. Like game 3, he got benched. Like he wasn't even in the game to make a play, good or bad. So, abysmal shooting for Cat.
Yeah, game 2. Yeah,
2. Yeah, abysmal shooting from Cat. Hasn't been able to hit his shot. Got called out for saying he shoots 1,500 shots by the TNT crew. Those guys calling Cap on that.
He said that?
Yeah. So, it's not a good look for Towns. He started very hot, at the beginning of this playoffs. Big reason those guys had success against Denver, but he just hasn't been there offensively. And Naz Reid has been the best offensive player outside of Edwards in game 3 for this Timberwolves team. Mike Conley, providing all he can at this point, but McDaniel's just a mismatch on the perimeter with Luka. Anthony Edwards just gas, getting oxygen in the tunnel during the fourth quarters, not able to stay with Kyrie. Those guys on the perimeter have just been too much, and we talked about maybe those big guys in the paint will be a big difference for Gafford and Lively, and literally what me and you said, the exact opposite happened. We were like, if they get to that mid-range and then those big men step up, that's literally the only way, but we think it's too much. That's exactly what they've been doing. They've been killing those guys on the perimeter.
Taking it apart.
And once Luka and Kyrie have been probing into that paint around that free throw line, the middies have all been there. They've been on fire. And then I was listening to, I believe it was either Ryan Russillo or Ben Simmons podcast, one of the two, but they were talking about how I think the Dallas Mavericks have 45 alley-oops and the next closest team has 9. So those guys are literally getting whatever they want in the paint. Lively went down with the bad injury. I think he has a sprained neck and he's out for this next game 4. So hopefully that'll heal up and he'll be ready for the finals if they do make it. But Gafford, still big presence down there in the paint. He's been dominating. Cat hasn't been able to do anything. Gobert defensively, he's kind of just stuck in no man's land because, McDaniels and Ant, those guys can't keep up on the perimeter. So once you get the switch or you get Gobert out in the paint, really he doesn't really know what to do. Either the midi or the lob drop-off pass has been there. Offensively, those guys have been able to do whatever they want. But like I said, man, I think that just the biggest thing is having 2 guys, having 2 closers, 2 dudes you can go to who can make something happen when it matters the most. With Luka and Kyrie, I think can ultimately be why this Mavs team can win the championship. Because, in the biggest moments, you want those 2 guys to have the ball. You feel comfortable. Whereas you go down the stretch, you look at the other teams left. Who else do you really feel more comfortable than Luka and Kyrie in those moments? So, the Mavs they're playing good basketball, man. PJ stepping up, Derrick Jones Jr.
Yep.
He's out there giving you good minutes, and then forgot all about Maxi Kleber. Or if they get to the finals, he should be back. So that's another piece for that Mavericks team. So a lot of those guys contributing to good basketball, but ultimately it just comes down to Luka and Kyrie with the ball in their hands down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it. They two closers on the other side in the Mavericks between Luka and Kyrie. Get a bucket any type of way they want. I mean, Jaden McDaniels' face said it all when Luka hit that step back game-winning three on Gobert. And, I mean, the Mavs they're picking on Rudy Gobert. They're getting mismatches. I think there was a point in game 3 where I don't even know who had the ball, but Luka just said, go get a bucket against Gobert, draws a foul, easy, gets him in the air. It just looks like Gobert's lost out there. Like he has zero role on being on that court. And then Cat just, we try to give him credit for his playoff performances so far, saying he adapted in the role coming off that meniscus injury earlier this year, bounced back quick, man. He's doing a lot of great things. And, I mean, he just comes out. He can't hit anything. 0 for 7, I think, last night on 3 balls. He's taking a 3 step back down the stretch. Not a good look, especially 1 for 7 at that point, or 0 for 6 at that point. You mentioned Naz Reid being their most consistent player, and he probably should have benched Cat again last night or 2 nights ago for Naz Reid at that point. Jaden McDaniel, he's had a good game, hitting a couple, spot-up shots.
Yeah, he's had good offensive games,
Yeah.
but you want more from him defensively, which is kind of like the flip of his game.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I don't think anyone's stopping Luka right now. Kyrie clearly in better shape than Ant. That's probably something needs to be worked on this offseason. Ant's shape. I mean, he's playing, upwards minutes, but that's what happens this late in the season in the playoffs. You expect big minutes from your stars.
Yeah, I mean, in the playoffs, all these guys are playing more minutes. All the rotations shrink. Like, I mean,
you're going from 10-man rotation to 7 to 8-man rotation, maybe 9 if you're lucky. But you saw it in game 1 mostly, where Ant didn't even want the rock. He was just standing there.
Walking back on defense.
Yeah, if it wasn't just him, coming off a screen and popping a 3, he was done for. Who else? I mean, yeah, Conley, he's played solid, but once again, what can you ask from Mike Conley at this point? And then you look at the other side. I mean, Derrick Jones Jr., you mentioned, he's great wing defender, can lengthy, get steals, known for high flying. I think he was 3 for 4 in game 3 from the 3 ball. I mean, if he's knocking down his shots, that's the guy you want to leave open. And he's hitting at that clip on his spot-up 3s. I mean, there's not much you could do at that point.
It's that heat culture in him, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a point where, Derrick Jones Jr., they were running that 2-3 zone. He was playing that high guard, excellent defender, man. So I know all about him. He's hitting those 3s like that. He's in his bag. He's a really good role player at that point. And I mean, Luka and Kyrie, you don't need much offense. You just need to hit some open shots. Easier said than done, obviously, on this stage. But when you got your 2 performing like Cat, Ant, he's not really showing, what we saw earlier in the playoffs. He slowed down a bit offensively. It's tough. And you thought, I mean, just kind of like that Pacers-Celtics series, there could have been games going the other way. They haven't. Looks like, 3-0, no teams ever came back. So, looks like the Mavs are going to chalk this one up in the books. But, either way, I think the Mavs have an offseason, to assess this 2 big man situation over there in Gobert and Cat. Kendrick Perkins also said he wants to take his vote back for Gobert on DPOY. Don't know why Kendrick Perkins is getting a vote on DPOY in the first place, but he has one, so I don't blame him. Mavs, it's going to be a good series, Mavs Celtics. If it stands, you're calling a sweep. I mean, if Cat just hits 2 shots last night or 2 nights ago in game 3, they win a game, but they get a stop. They also win a couple games. I see just momentum in Dallas' side. They're locked in. I think Kyrie, I'm excited for that Kyrie Boston matchup, man. And, against the Celtics, his former team.
Bring the sage out, man.
Bring the sage out into the stadium. Yeah, he did that. This forever ago. He played on Boston now. I mean, who knows? But Kyrie's been hooping. Those two guys, someone said best backcourt of all time in the NBA, which, I don't know how you're assessing backcourt essentially. But do you think there's a better backcourt? Because, could you put Bron at point guard? Probably. But do you think there's ever been a better backcourt in the NBA than Luka and Kyrie that's been getting tossed around past couple of days?
Well, I'm trying to think. I'm not, I don't claim to be a basketball historian, so not too sure how crazy some of those older backcourts were. But I'm just trying to think of like the super dominant guards we had, and like their running mates. Like
could you say Bron and D Wade was a backcourt?
Like, you're not gonna say Chalmers and D Wade.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
no, you're not.
Or Norris Cole. Like Kobe never really had like a
Derek Fisher. Yeah,
like a really strong running mate. Magic was kind of like by himself in terms of guard wise. He just had a bunch of centers. He had Kareem. He had some good forwards.
Would you?
The first one that comes to mind, most recent, is Curry and Clay.
Curry and Clay.
Prime Curry.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think in terms of team basketball,
they were better.
Curry and Clay were better.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
But if you're just saying like it's a 2-on-2, or you just want two guys just to go get a bucket, like it might there might not be a better duo in just terms of how skilled they are. Now, defensively, Clay will give you a lot more, especially if we're talking, prime Clay. He was one of the best perimeter defenders.
3-and-D.
Before his injuries and back when he still has some juice, but I think, I'm trying to think.
Could you throw KD at the 2 when he was in OKC with Russ?
Like a young Westbrook and Harden. They weren't really together in their primes.
Yeah,
not even in, not in Houston either. Russ was okay.
You could have CP3 and Harden in Houston.
Yeah, they took the Warriors to 7 games.
Yeah, live and die by that D'Antoni 3-ball.
In terms of backcourt duo, I don't know. Are we missing anyone? I'm trying to think.
Like
Jordan, but who was his point guard?
I don't even know.
Kerr?
Steve Kerr, yeah. Hey, big shot Kerr.
Tony Kukoc, none of those guys. Jordan was him. He was the backcourt. Jordan was the entire team. Shout out Scotty, but it's not a guard.
Yeah, I just feel like today we're positionless basketball to where before Kyrie, Luka was the quote unquote PG of the team. So it's is he a 3? Now they got him at the 2.
No, those guys are both guards. Luka and Kyrie are both guards. I get what you're trying to say, move around Luka just because he's so big, or move other players.
Yeah, when he first came in the league, I think he positionally was a 3.
Luka?
Yeah, no.
Luka was always a primary ball handler. He was always one.
Yeah, but LeBron's a primary ball handler. Is he a point guard?
You could say that, but
But
Luka came in as a point guard. He was a point guard. He might have the size or whatever as a 3, but he's not, because LeBron was way more athletic than Luka.
Yes.
He could hang out, in the 3 or 4 because he was so big and athletic. Luka is not athletic. He's not moving like LeBron. So
all I gotta say is James Harden changed the game, which brings me to my next question, because he was traditionally a 2 guard and became that point guard in Houston at the time, sort of like that. Non-traditional point guard, bucket getter. A lot of talks on the step back, man. Prime Harden, prime Luka on the step back 3. So it's a tough one. Just the step backs.
Well, I feel like you got to give it to Harden because he's the originator. Not the originator. He's the one that made it popular. He's the one that brought it to the forefront. So guys like Luka can't succeed. So I'm going to say Harden, but Luka's right there up there with him.
I agree with you.
I think Luka's looks better.
Oh, yeah, because, Harden's was quote-unquote travel.
Just in terms of, the way he gets into it. I like Luka's better.
Yeah.
The way his shot is.
I think Harden's it's just because he moves a little slower, too.
Yeah.
So it just looks smooth, all around. But, No, I get what you're saying. I agree with you. You got to give it to Harden because I don't think without Harden, obviously Luka could still have a step back, but it's sort of like the patent move from Harden. He started it to where, he might get that extra step on a step back and not get called or whatever. But it means of him traveling, everything like that. He started it, originator, like what you said there. But, I mean, both those guys talented in their own respect, but I think you go Harden with that, no doubt.
We know you going Harden, bro. Like, yeah.
Wait. I would say
Harden. Yeah.
Harden in his prime in Houston was the best scoring guard in the league, and he was arguably of this generation scoring. So free throw line, all that.
Scoring guard,
scoring
or just player.
I mean, player of this generation for sure.
Over KD?
Over KD, yeah.
Nah.
I'm gonna say KD gets tougher buckets, but I don't think
just pure bucket getter, pure scorer. There's just so much.
Just score. Just
KD
points.
can do that. Harden can't just because of his size.
Yeah, I agree with you, but Harden literally invented the game where people make fun of him for drawing fouls and getting to the line.
KD can do everything Harden can do.
15 free throws. I didn't say it was not a hot take, bro.
No,
not a lot of people agree.
I'm just arguing. I'm just saying like
and
there's stuff KD can do
Harden.
that Harden can't.
And then I think Harden gets more buckets because KD, while he is a tougher shot maker, he can't get all the same buckets Harden can get. Harden's ability to draw the foul and manipulate defenses in his prime was unmatched in his ability to end up scoring the rock and shooting efficient free throws that no other player was shooting, 20 free throws a game like Harden. I mean, they clowned him for it. They said, it's not real. He just draws fouls, slow game. But, I mean, it worked for a little period. And
so you saying just because Harden is better at getting to the line than
no,
KD,
but he was also a scorer.
Which is marginal.
He is a scorer still.
KD was doing the same thing. KD was getting to the line. KD was doing everything Harden was doing.
He wasn't doing what Harden was doing.
At 7 foot.
Harden was, the scoring task was on Harden. KD, while in OKC, sure, went to the Warriors. He slowed down a bit in his scoring. Didn't get all the same touches. But am I saying that KD might be one of the greatest bucket getters of all time? Because he is 7 feet tall and he's able to pull up from anywhere on the floor, handle like a guard. He was the first, almost, he's not listed as 7 feet, but he is 7 foot. First one to do it, really changed the game, opened the game up for these big men to be able to go out to the perimeter, handle the ball. I agree with all that, but me personally, I know it's not too fond out there. There might be a couple people rocking with it, but I'm going with Harden. When it came to scoring, I don't know how many scoring titles he won, but the 50, 40, 90, it was all Harden. His years in Houston, averaging double-doubles, the drive and kick, that's what made the D'Antoni 3, the live and die by the 3, crashing when Harden got to the rim. I mean, even Carmelo came out and said when his time in Houston, they told him he could only have one midi a game because the team could only shoot like 10, 12, and they reserved those other, 8 to 10 shots for Chris Paul. That's what Melo said, man. They reserved it for him. So I just thought that was funny to bring up, how you reserve certain shots for a player and limit the midi, and what people make fun of the Rockets for actually was going on and telling Melo not to shoot his shot that he made a living off of. So but I'm going with Harden. You're going KD. Do you think there's anyone else in that conversation?
No, I don't think there's anyone else in the conversation with KD. I think Harden is crazy.
Okay, well,
I think Harden, he was a really good scorer, but in terms of best scorer and he's just limited, and KD isn't. Just because KD can do everything that Harden can, and he's just 7 foot. Like, he literally can pull up and shoot anyone. He can handle the ball. Offensively, he can play make, he can pass. But he's 7 foot, so he can get to the rim so much easier than Harden. He doesn't have to rely on the fouls like James Harden does, because KD's a 7-footer. He can just score the ball. Like, if you put KD in this situation where Harden was, where he had the run for 4 or 5, 6 years where it was literally just him and no one else before Chris Paul came to Houston, where it was just Harden. He was putting up those numbers. Like, KD would
Clint
be
Capella,
on.
man.
Oh, yeah, my fault, bro. Forgot about Patrick Beverly. Yeah, my bad, bro.
PJ Tucker in the corner.
Just keep naming obscure role players for Houston that just don't.
Trevor
they did nothing. Yeah. Like, bro, if you put KD in that situation, like, I feel like he's going to be even more dominant. It's just that KD always was either the number one or had a solid number two. Or you could say take the easier out. But we did see in the playoffs on Brooklyn, you know, the infamous foot on the line game. Yep. And there was no Kyrie. There was no Harden. It was just KD out there on the court. You saw him go out and get a bucket and take over. And you saw, you know, like the peak of Kevin Durant going out and scoring, you know, which, I mean, if it wasn't for that, you know, foot on the line, who knows what would happen. But, yeah, I just think KD's game is more dominant and his size. Now, I'm not taking – now, if you want to say best scoring guard, I'm totally there with you. Like, there's a legit argument for James Harden in terms of being the best scoring guard.
Kind of climbing in that category at this point.
Well, of the 2010 generation, whatever. I will be right there with you. I'll understand the argument. I'll hear it. But if you're just saying just player, like, I don't know, man. It's tough. You can make a case LeBron was better than Harden in terms of just scoring.
Yeah, better player. I would agree with. Yeah.
But we never seen LeBron lock in and just score just because it's so
passing
much
up the last shot. That's why.
Well, yeah, but there's just so much more to his game than just scoring. That's what I'm saying. Like,
it was playmaking with Harden, but it was mainly that driving kick most of the time because they just played open space, shoot a three or layup. No, I mean, I don't know. They talk about, you know, KD's legacy and
see, now we're not talking about legacy. We talking about just scoring.
I'm moving on.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on, that KD might be the only player never to have a jersey retired with the team and make the Hall of Fame. I saw that the other day, and I agree with that.
No, I think OKC has to.
You think OKC has to?
I mean, at this point, would you say him or Westbrook is the best player?
I would rather
OKC.
Westbrook gave OKC more, as in a city and a franchise. Like, I mean, was KD a better player? Yes. Were they both on? But I mean, after you go down to the Warriors and you go ahead, he could have went to any other team, and I think they would have retired his jersey. The fact that he went to the Warriors when they were going back and forth in those Western playoffs and being so short at so young, losing to LeBron in the Heat that first time, and I think it's tough when you go to the rival in the Warriors, who was already, you know, 70+ win team, and you do that.
I think OKC should retire his jersey.
You think they should?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no.
But I mean, like,
Brooklyn's not retiring. And
Brooklyn, no. I mean, Golden State maybe, but he was just there for too short of a time.
Yeah, and
like, he won 2 chips with them. But
if Curry and Clay weren't winning championships and Draymond before, and he came in and won that one championship, maybe.
But I mean, you still have to acknowledge, like, he was a big part. Like, he literally won Finals MVP.
Yeah.
So, like,
I'm not disagreeing with that.
He was a big reason.
There was already the dynasty in place between the Warriors.
Well, yeah, he just took it to another level and elevated.
Yeah.
And I think he still should. I think he should still deserve credit for that.
No, he does, but I'm not saying it's enough for a jersey retirement in Golden State.
Man, I can understand the Golden State argument. I think OKC
now if he brings a championship to Phoenix, which I don't know if he, whatever, maybe at that point, because Phoenix has never had anything. Charles Barkley, he never won a championship. I mean, you know, you talk about those guys. So,
but I mean, let's think about it. KD, I mean, with OKC, he got an MVP. Did he win 1 or 2 MVPs in OKC?
He might have won 2. Let me check.
Maybe 2. Definitely 1. We know the "You the Real MVP" speech. He won the scoring champ.
1. I think Westbrook won 1.
Yeah, Westbrook got 1 in OKC, but with the triple double.
Yep.
He was a scoring champ in OKC. Led the team to the finals. I think 2 Western Conference championship appearances, 2 or 3. Did he win Rookie of the Year at OKC, or did he win it? Was he still on the Supersonics, because I know he got drafted by the Sonics that one season.
Yeah.
So like, bro, Kevin Durant like has some accolades. He has some. He holds weight in OKC. Like he did some crazy stuff for OKC.
So he had the one scoring title in 08. Was it 08? There's no way it was 08. Was that early?
No, I think it was like
Kevin 2010.
2010. Yeah, he was
Won another 3 in 11, 12, and 14.
Mm-hmm.
Russ ended up winning it in 15, but I think that Warriors and the fallout, the bad blood of the franchise.
Because there's no bad blood, bro. There's people in OKC right now begging for them to trade for Kevin Durant back from the Suns. So, like, if they're willing to take him back, I think they'll be okay with retiring his jersey. Like, where it all started for Kevin Durant, I think that's the least they could do. Like, I understand going to the Warriors and everything is, like, a big deal. And, like, he left Westbrook, this and that. But, I mean... come on, bro. Like, I mean, Westbrook didn't really do much for OKC after Kevin Durant left. Like, he had, the triple-double season, MVP, but, I mean, they didn't really do much else after that. Paul George came in and was arguably the better player.
No, yeah, I agree with that, but, I mean...
So you saying just because he went to the Warriors, you don't think that should retire his jersey? That's the only reason.
I think if he stayed or didn't go to the Warriors, that it would be in the conversation of his jersey being retired in OKC, 100%. I don't even think it's a conversation, but the fact that he did go to the Warriors, that it is up for debate to whether they do or don't retire his jersey in OKC.
I mean, I guess.
Because now, I mean, yeah, would you want to bet? Now you got a whole different, generation of young squads in OKC. I think if you add KD to the mix, which seems so unreal at this point. But I don't
think that OKC team wasn't going to get over the hump, though. I don't think.
You don't think the big three or even KD and Westbrook?
Big three, Harden already left at that
point.
Yeah,
I'm saying like Westbrook and KD, you don't think?
Clearly it wasn't enough. They did so on just the year before. So they would have needed another piece. It's
different every year, though.
I'm saying they would have needed another piece.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Heat. They lost to the Mavericks with ease in year one of that big three: Bron, D Wade, Bosh.
That's different. That's a totally different conversation.
I'm just saying, they went on to win 2 titles.
Westbrook and KD was the main core. They had years of experience together. They already played together. Their relationship was falling out. That's why KD left. When LeBron and
it was all good before he left, though.
They was saying no, because you remember everyone was like, "Oh, like you can't play with Westbrook. Like is Westbrook holding back KD? Like that was
though. I don't think
no, but that's a legit thing. Like that was a legit thing. Like that was people were saying that was like what was going around. That was the narrative at the time. For the Heat and LeBron, it wasn't like their relationship souring. It was just they didn't have any chemistry. They didn't have a long enough relationship yet. That's why they lost. And then once you see, the camaraderie and, everything comes together, they go on that crazy run. So I think it's like 2 kind of like opposite situations in terms of that.
All right.
But I guess because KD him going to the Warriors is like they literally like just prevented OKC from winning
a championship. Even, the glimmer of hope of winning a championship. And I mean, OKC, they have nothing but basketball out there. So
yeah, but I think they should still retire Durant's jersey though, because I mean, without him, bro, they would have been irrelevant.
No, they definitely would have, but I mean, he ended up making them irrelevant once again, real quick. And
well, no, they weren't irrelevant because Westbrook was still there, but just not to the level it was before.
Yes, I agree with you, but I personally, I don't think it will happen. We'll see though. I think it's up for conversation, and I'm not OKC. I don't know who handles the front office.
You don't think he gets his jersey retired in Miami for all the trade rumors and all the edited clips of Kevin Durant?
You mean the Photoshop jerseys?
Yeah, number 5.
What about Harden and Dame then? Are they getting jersey retirements?
Everyone can have a Heat.
And Tyler Hero could retire a Heat, and he'd literally play for every other team that was suspect of traded. Which, I mean, that's a whole nother. He should be gone anyways. But you got any other comments, takes?
No, not really.
Old head basketball
You
jersey
know,
retirements.
If the Mavericks handle business, it'll be kind of a little boring period here. 9 days, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
So the finals actually start. I think June 6th is the first game.
Yeah.
So
summertime hoops.
It's gonna be a blank period. So for our sakes, hopefully the Timberwolves can hold on, make this a series. A very short episode next week.
I'll come out with some more old head trivia. I don't know, like this one. Regardless, man, go episode 93. Yeah, 93. Go pod, TikTok, go YouTube, Apple, Spotify, stream, whatever platform it is. And until next week, hopefully we do get a prolonged series in the West. But until then, man, peace.